everyone, in this video I'll be teaching you the Alekhine defense, which is named after Alexander Alexandrovich Alekhine. And the Alekhine defense is e4 and the defensive move is knight to f6. Now, we're going to be covering two of the main lines, where the knight jumps over to c3, or when you push this pawn forwards to e5. First, let's cover knight to c3. Now e5, gaining control of the dark squares, whilst the knight controls the light squares. Same with white, but white control the light squares when black decide to control both. Now, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to e2. d5 striking in the centre, and e captures on d5, knight captures on d5, asking for trade of the two knights. Now, castles on the king's side, and knight takes on c3, trading off one pair of knights. D takes on c3, and now we develop the bishop with tempo, bishop to d6, and this prevents any queen trades to start off the game, so black wants to avoid this trade. Rook to e1, and castles on the king's side, and bishop to c4. Bishop to g4, and h3. e4, double attacking this knight. Although, even though you allow the knight to be captured, you can simply play h captures on g4, and after e captures on f3, you can play queen takes on f3, and the queen has gained a very strong position, guarding any attacks of the queen coming down to this h4 square. Now, knight to e5, double attacking the queen and the bishop, so the queen has to move now. Queen moves into d5, putting lots of pressure on the square with the bishop and queen. Now, we have knight captures on c4, so trying to get the queen down to this square, trying to capture some pieces. So queen takes on c4, and now the queen does come down to h4. Bishop to f4, guarding any ideas, and forces a trade of bishops. First, we have queen takes on g4, and now we have rook to e4, and rook a to e8, asking for trade of rooks. Now we have rook to d4, keeping the rook on the 4th rank, whilst attacking with the bishop. Now, from here, let's move on to the next variation. And in this next variation, we cover the pawn push, e5 move. Knight to d5, now we have d4. This is the normal variation. Knight to b6, and c4. c6, and now we have e captures on d6, and e captures on d6, and knight to c3 developing. This is better as white, because they advance the pawn, and they are ahead in development. Bishop to e7, bishop to e3, and castles. So in this position, white has very good development. Now let's change perspective to blacks. The development is not as good, but knight to f3, and bishop to e6. So coming from black's perspective, these two bishops are very strong, control these two diagonals. Now we have b3, and d5. Pushing forwards with c5, forcing the knight to be kicked away. Now let's change back to white's perspective. Here, white is closed in the position. So going back, this d5 move opens up the position, but white simply closes the position with an attack on the knight. Knight 6 to d7, and bishop to d3. Knight to c6, and a kingside castling. Now we have bishop to f6, and rook to c1. So, advancing the strength of this knight, this knight will be free. They could jump to b5, and this rook holds the c file for the knight. And now we have rook to e8 and rook to e1. So bringing this rook onto the e file also results in this rook shifting to d file. a6 and a4, gaining a strong position, pushing forwards and stopping any ideas of b5, so this knight controls the square along with this pawn and bishop. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video on the Alekhine's defense. Please remember to like this video and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.